Welcome everybody to the Electric SuperCar channel. This week we finally get the MGA to drive. Let's get to it. Today's sponsor is Vartra Power. They make lithium iron phosphate batteries for things like golf carts, marine, RV, even home storage. So they've even got an app that you can use to monitor all the battery information just at a glance. The battery that we're looking at today is for a golf cart, and it's got a 50-mile range. You'd have to be pretty bad at golf to need to go 50 miles, but hey, they got you covered. So it's got a 22 amp dedicated charger. That means you can go from 0 to 100% in about 5 hours. It also has low temperature cutoff switch, so you don't have to worry about kind of damaging your batteries in low temperature conditions. It has a 200 amp battery management system that really helps protect from over discharge or overcharge, as well as high or low temperature conditions. It comes with a 2.8 inch LCD screen, which allows you to see all the critical information for the batteries at a glance. It can provide up to 4,000 cycles, which compared to the lead acid batteries is about 300 to 500. And it comes with a 5-year warranty. So they've given us a 48 volt golf cart battery to kind of take a look at. With their permission, we're gonna go ahead and open this and check it out. So this is all very nice. Everything comes included. So this is the charger. Again, all the cables and everything looks very well made. It even has an LCD screen. So again, that's nice. Display all the things that your battery is experiencing, kind of temperature, voltage, current, all that good stuff. Also has all the connectors and things that you need. This comes with Bluetooth. You're able to turn it off and on. And again, your main power switches and kind of communication ports. It's even got a vent. So this is essentially a smaller version of what I do with the electric vehicles. So this is a self-contained battery box. So again, this is seriously heavy, but I can't imagine how heavy it'd be if it was lead acid. The benefit of the lithium construction is it's just a lot lighter. It's got a lot more power and range for the same space or even smaller space and less weight. All right, let's take a look. Boom. So again, each one of these is going to be a cell. Again, the construction looks great. Got a bus bar there along the back. Bus bars up front. And they've got an electronics board. My guess is maybe that's part of the battery management system, as well as any other kind of systems that the battery needs. But yeah, really cool stuff. All right, I'm gonna plug this in. Oh, there's a power button right here. There we are, 61% standby. We're currently using no current. It's got 53 volts. Temperature is at 74.3. Time till empty, about 1,000 hours at its current pace. Page 2. Man, that is cool. Again, you got your discharge on, your charge on, max and min temp, status normal. Those are all your cells. Very cool, very well done. I approve. So if you're ready to upgrade your battery system in your RV, golf cart, marine, anything like that, even home storage, I'll leave a link in the video description below. One thing we're missing before we can get this thing rolling and driving is the clutch slave cylinder. That was just missing. So we got a new one ordered and now we're gonna put it in. Basically, it's right here. It's kind of a good replacement. It also comes with a short flexible hose. So we'll get that all bolted up, and I think once that's together, we can start bleeding the brakes and the clutch. It's all in the same reservoir here. Man, it is just tight quarters here under the car. But I believe this is where the clutch line goes through here. This one's got kind of the fitting on the inside, but it's also got threads on the outside. So the threads can attach that nut right here. So that's where the hard line will stop, and the flexible line will go to the slave cylinder. All right, well, I believe we've got everything in place, so let's put the master cylinder in place. All right, we were able to put on the rubber boot, and we got the new slave cylinder all mounted. We got the clutch line fixed, pins attached, everything's ready to go. So I put on that brake line fitting, but the other lines I just screwed back together. So I think we're ready to fill up the reservoir and look for leaks. Talked to some experts and they say .4 brake fluid for this one. We're gonna go start cracking some of the bleeders and see if we can get this thing so the pedals are firm and everything's working great. One other thing we need to do before we start spinning the motor is we need to put some oil, some transmission fluid in the transmission. So right now I'm just going to open it, make sure there's nothing left in it, and then we'll top it off with some good stuff. Yeah, there's a small leak. So yeah, there's some transmission oil already on the ground and on the bottom of the bolt. All right, call that good. A pump would go faster. All right, I've just got the system here zip tied, fill it up, walk away, do some stuff, fill it up some more. Again, a little pump would be very nice, but without that, this will do just fine. So one other problem we have to deal with is, I'll call it the transmission. So the motor, I think, was mounted exactly in the center, which is awesome, except for the transmission, it kind of kicks to the left a little bit. I don't know how well you can see that, but it kind of kicks to the left a little bit. So the problem that causes is where the accelerated pedal is, like I cannot push it without touching the brake as well. So that means we would either need to redo all the motor mounts and transmission mounts, or we can just bend the pedals ever so slightly, just give us a little more room. I knew that was gonna happen. Pretty sure that one's not mine. So George, if you're missing your 9/16 socket, I think I found it. Okay, I think those are ready to come out. There's one. And there's two. I'm gonna be scanning the pedals just in case when we do some bending, if something kind of gets non-recoverable, at least I'll have the exact geometry and I can kind of order some new stuff from Send Cut Send. All right, so there is the pedal. So if anything ever happens, we can recreate it. Yep, and there is the brake pedal, and there's the clutch. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually kind of trace or outline kind of the current shape, and then I'm gonna bend to try and get things to go over about an inch or two. I'm gonna try and use some of the same bend points, so you can see up here, it bends here, and then bends back. So I'm gonna try and use some of those same points. Here it kind of seems like it bends here and then bends back. Here, bends there, bends back. So I'm just gonna try and use those same points, but just have them bend a little bit more. All right, so I've just kind of outlined these so you can kind of see where they were. And essentially I wanna kind of have this point in the same spot, but have this one over, again, like 2 inches. So I'm gonna start with this one. This one, it actually looks like I could straighten it because it kind of kicks over and kicks back. So I think if I could just straighten it, it should kind of come over about that distance. So I'll start with this one. All right, so here's the plan. I've got this kind of clamped by the lift, and I'm just gonna use my jack and see if I can kind of force it up a little bit. I think the wood's gonna help just if something's going too far, too much force, that'll give way first. All right, so I've got the top kind of lined up where it was, and you can see that we've bent it a little bit. So I think I want to go just a little bit more, and then so when we're bending it, it's kind of aiming this way, and then we'll just tweak this part back. All right, again, I've got this one kind of lined up here on the back, kind of how it was. And now, again, we got probably a good 2 inches or 1.5 inches that it's moved over. So I took the rubber foot off just to make sure we didn't damage it. But I think that one's good, so we'll go ahead and do this one. Again, I believe I've got those back ones lined up. And again, they're both out, again, about a pedal's width. So just one more to go. All right, I was able to just bend this one on the vise really quick. It's a lot thinner. So again, this one doesn't need to be over quite as much because the footwell's here, and yeah, it's okay. So we move that one over maybe a ½ inch to an inch, and then these ones more. So again, about a pedal's width for each of those. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them back in the car and see if we're there or see if we need to do additional bending. I think that looks a lot better, but we'll try it out. All right, so that's what it's got right now. And again, I feel like that's pretty good for the accelerator pedal. I think the brake pedal's a little close, right? So I can clear it, but it's a little close. And the other thing is it just doesn't look quite even. So again, it looks like it wants to kick out just a little bit. So I'm gonna bend that one out just a little bit more, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, I also checked that this will work really well for heel toe shifting.
All right, this is the MGA. This goes on top of the transmission tunnel for the old one. So I'm just measuring this opening here because I need to cut an opening to put this rubber boot on and have that be for the gear shift. There we go. Ready to go.
Because on the high voltage junction box, the wiring diagram for the high voltage cables was wrong, we have to now switch locations. For lots of the cables, that's not a problem because for these ones, they were going to this side, and now we need to go to this side. So I actually get to cut them shorter. So we're gonna just cut them shorter and put these new plugs on. Okay, we've got all the wires, cables tucked out of the way, and they are actually connected to the high voltage junction box. So that's for the battery. We need to do the same thing for the controller inverter side. All right, we just finished up those other two that are the controller side and got it plugged into the high voltage junction box. What a chore. It'd be great to only have to do this once, but we've done it twice. I think it looks really good. Trying to tidy up a few things. Originally, this had those BMS Satellite units up in that box there, but that box also did not have a fuse. So we added a fuse, and now I just don't feel comfortable kind of trying to shoehorn them in there. So we're gonna make a box for this that's gonna live kind of down at the other end of the battery box. So really what that means is I've got to look at all the wiring and maybe splice a few things so that everything can be relocated to that side. So here it is, we're bolting things together. I'm just going to put all the connectors through there, connect them all, put it in place. We have the BMS satellites now in here. Got some mounting holes. We just kind of need to tuck things under and mount. All right, that's mounted there. Again, that's the satellite units. I've got a little pass-through, so essentially it's connected to the battery box, and there's just a hole between both of them, and we'll go ahead and seal that up as well, so it's just kind of part of the battery box. But now we're going to go ahead and put the top on. I believe we are done with this one, so that's kind of a big milestone, so we'll go ahead and put the top on. I ordered some of these new brackets. This is for the rear battery box. As you recall, it was sitting a little low, so these were kind of close to that, kind of uncomfortably close. So we've kind of jacked it up right now, and we're starting to install the new mounts. So hopefully that'll get things up and out of the way enough that we're feeling a lot better. So you can see our new placement for the battery box is as high as it goes. So you really can't go any higher. So this is the space we have now. So again, it's like a fist. So I think that's going to be good enough. I put kind of a straight edge between the pivot point, that is the bump stop. And if I put a straight edge there, it doesn't contact. So I think we're gonna be good. All right, I got lots of comments early on, and I completely agree. I think I was the one that pointed it out, but we had some connector locations for the high voltage that were very close to the leaf spring. And with the bump stop and such, there was some concern that they could hit. That'd be very bad. So I'm just gonna show you, draw a quick diagram. So call that the leaf spring. That's the axis. We'll say that's the car, and then we had a bump stop right here. Previously, our battery box kind of hung pretty low, and we had some connectors here, and there was some concern that if this went up to here, that these ones would kind of come and hit, leaf springs would hit those connectors. I redesigned the battery box mount to kind of get it up as high as possible. So I'm gonna just redraw this, so in the form of a triangle, so you can see that we're good. So this pivot point is right here. We're gonna say this is the axle, and then this is the bump stop. So we got this triangle. So this was about 2.5 inches. So from that point to there, so that's how much it can move before it hit the bump stop. So this distance from here all the way to here was 23. So over here, this was about, we'll call it 12 inches, 11 or 12 inches. So call it roughly halfway. So that means as long as this distance is shorter than 1.25 inches, we should be good. Well, I measured it with the new space, and we're up here at pretty close to 2.5. It's like 2.25. So again, we should have plenty of clearance for this to go up full travel and still have room to spare. So we should be good. The other thing I need to do is I need to get these hoses attached. I've been leaving these off because I knew I had to disconnect and connect several different times. So I'm gonna cut these to length and put them on. I think I've got to route one more cable, this one that goes back there. Just gotta make sure it's not getting close to anything like the axle. But then I think this wheel that's been off and everything over here that's been disassembled for a long time will be all back together. All right, now that we've got the last coolant hoses for the rear battery boxes connected, it's time to fill up the coolant system. So I've got this vacuum fill system, so we're gonna give that a try. So we connect this to the radiator spot, in our case, the overflow tank, then shut off 3 and turn on 6. And that's what's gonna fill the whole coolant system. So we'll look at the needle there, that'll tell us when we have vacuum, it'll also tell us when everything's full. 3 is on. That's off, so we're good.
So I don't know if you can hear it, but we got a small hiss back here, so we're gonna go ahead and reseal these and try again. Oh yeah, I can see it over here, can see it flowing through all the tubes. I think I was maybe too late, but you can see it. You see it, it's just flowing through the tubes. Already went through a lot of these ones. Well, I didn't have the cap on, so I lost a little bit of the coolant. So you can see kind of flowing a little bit. Since the thing's going back and forth.
So the vacuum filling of coolant did not work too well. I think what happened is the coolant was filling. This reservoir filled up to the point where it was full and wouldn't allow anything else to fill up. So this is full. We've got some empty things like, see, this tube's not full. Other tubes aren't full. I think what we need to do, I think we've kind of got like a hydro lock, and I think we need to open that top one, which will probably release some fluid. But yeah, we just need to kind of get this fixed.
Holy cow, that's on there. I softened these in order to get them on, and man, they are on. There we go. So I figured out what's going on and why things weren't working well. I had the supply and return lines for the overflow tank reversed. So essentially at the bottom is what was supplying, and at the top was return. Well, you kind of don't want that, because if it's not all the way to the top, no fluid's going to go back. So basically I just need to swap those. But yeah, rookie mistake. Okay, I was struggling a little bit with air pockets and things. So I did get those swapped, which obviously helps. But the other thing I did is I added I'll call it a fill/breather port right there. And so I've got this going up, and so I've got fluid that's coming down and air bubbles that are coming up. So I don't know if you can see. So I'm leaving this on for a little bit, just to get rid of all the air bubbles, or as many of them as we can. And so that'll make sure all the lines are full of fluid and not trapped with air. All right, I'm gonna try one more thing. We tested this a long time ago, but I wanna just test the thermostat there, make sure the fan goes on. So it indeed goes on. We'll let it cool down, make sure it turns off. Perfect, works great. Okay, now that we've got the coolant filled, I think we're ready to kind of put things back together and take it for a drive. All right, it is time to start putting things back together. So I'm gonna put the grill on, gonna put the hood on, gotta put wheels on, get this thing moving. All right, I've been connecting a lot of these wires just by hand, just again, lots of troubleshooting. So I'm finally doing, I'll call this rudimentary wiring. I've just got a little switch panel there, putting some relays and things in with some fuses. I'm trying to get the car to the point of driving. I just want to get all these so that they can be switched on and off very easily, everything fused with appropriate relays. We're going to try and fire up the switch panel here, see how many sparks fly. This is 12 volt constant. So far, so good. Isolation contactors, auxiliary contactors. Now the main contactor. Now again, this should turn on the pump as well, but it didn't. Wait, yes it did. Okay, this is exciting. We're gonna see if we can actually get this thing to move. This will be the first time it moves under new power, so it's a pretty exciting moment. All right, so I believe we're in gear. Well, brakes work, drive works. Let's go take it around the block. All right, do you like my seat? Taking a quick ride around the block. Everything's looking good. So yeah, that was probably one of the more sketchy rides I've done. When I first did the blue car, we didn't have seat belts. But we did have seats and we had a floor. So with Zach's car, there's kind of a middle section on the Humvee that wasn't there, and it's kind of like, oh, I can see the pavement passing by pretty quick. This was kind of a combination of both. It didn't have seatbelts, it doesn't even have seats. Yeah, it's got a lot of open areas, so decided not to take it out on any main roads. And the car is on. I don't know if you can hear, but it's the pump is what you can hear. So I'll get a little closer. Again, not super loud, but just kind of a little hum. But yeah, everything works, looks great. I'm really excited for the customer. I'm excited to give this back to him and see what he thinks. So we're getting ready to ship this one out, but I don't want to leave it without some parting gifts. All right, so one present I'm going to leave is a charger. So this is electric vehicle supply equipment, and it'll work great for this one, as I tried this one about 20 times to try and get it to charge, and it finally works. So we know this one works. We're going to send it with the car to the customer. All right, one other thing I got is a laser cut electric sign. I don't know if they're gonna want this or not, but I figured I'd give it to him. I thought it looked really cool. Just maybe I'll temporarily put it there and he can decide if he wants it or not. All right, there you go. It'll be easy to remove if they want to take it off. But yeah, I think it looks pretty sweet. All right, we do have one other surprise. So we 3D printed, I'll call it some battery box bling. So instead of just opening it and seeing kind of a bare box with a blow-off valve, we got some of these. So again, easy to remove if the customer doesn't like it, but I think it looks pretty sweet. One other thing I wanted to do for the customer is I wanted to try and get some reimbursement. I know there's been a lot of comments saying, I hope you're charging the customer, your work shouldn't be free. Yeah, don't worry about me. I am indeed charging the customer, but one of the things that I wanted to do on behalf of the customer is try to be an advocate for them in getting them some reimbursement. So I'll just give you a quick overview of some kind of the major issues we encountered with this kit. So by far the biggest issue was the wiring diagram. So we specifically asked multiple times if we could have the most up-to-date wiring diagram. There was a wiring diagram that was supplied and it was wrong in so many ways. One of the more dangerous ones was a pre-charge wire. Yeah, so it still says pre-charge failed. Isolation fault. They had it going to some random connection, and basically that was causing an isolation problem. So we had kind of a direct path for the high voltage to the chassis. So that was kind of dangerous. Another big issue is the high voltage, both kind of in from the battery as well as out to the controller and motor, were not correct. So we had to kind of cut and splice and get new connectors. So that was a challenge. Also, the charging, the way that the wiring diagram had us wire everything up for charging, there was just no way it could charge in that configuration. So we had to work through some things there. The J1772 board that was supplied with the equipment or with the kit, that was not compatible or didn't work, so we had to get a new J1772 board. One of the biggest ones for me was the high voltage junction box had the wrong contactor inside of it. Yeah, that was definitely a challenge to discover, and we were able to switch that one out. Another potential dangerous situation is they also had the wrong contactor for the front battery box. So again, that one heated up quite a bit. And again, if we didn't have an IR camera and didn't catch it, that could have been catastrophic. So here's the deal. I believe everyone, including companies, is entitled to their mistakes, right? Nobody's perfect, and we all have challenges, and it's like, crap, I did that wrong, or man, this didn't work out how I wanted to. So to me, it's like, you know, everybody gets a free pass. With that being said, I think there's some fundamentals with, I'll call it customer service. And it sounds really simple, but I feel like so many companies and so many industries just really struggle. But basically what it is you kind of identify the problem, say, hey, what went wrong? And then it's, how do you make it right? So in this case, I think the easiest way for the customer to feel like, hey, they made it right, would be to offset a lot of the costs that were incurred. So I reached out to them. I wanted to have a quick call with them to kind of, again, I want to put this in a really positive, really understanding light. I don't want to, rag on any company, But I wanted it to be very positive and just say like, hey guys, appreciate your help. Because one of the things they did is they actually helped all along the way. So I could reach out to them, I could phone calls, things like that. They were very helpful all along the way. So I've got to give them credit there. But in order for the customer to feel like, hey, this was actually a positive experience or even a neutral experience, would be to get some of the money back that they're having to spend to make this kit right. So I reached out to them to try and have a phone call and kind of have a discussion about, number one, how grateful I am for all their support, how much I appreciated them following through, but also to kind of ask if they'd be willing to help offset some of the costs for the customer. At this time, they've declined that call. $1,000 for a company is probably not a ton, but to the customer, that's gonna mean a lot. And hey, we're so sorry, and we really wanna make this right. Again, I think the customer would be like, hey, this wasn't a great experience, but they did everything they could to make it right. So hopefully they'll step up to the plate. I'll keep you posted. Remember the ad at the beginning of the video for Vartra Power? So they want to include you in a product giveaway. All you need to do to enter is comment in this video, #Vartra and Vartra giveaways. Visit the link in the video description below and sign up. So on September 12th, they're gonna announce the winner on their Instagram page, and they will be sent a battery as a prize. So follow those easy steps and you can win. All right, so we got everything driving. This means this is kind of the point that we wanted to bring it for the customer. So the customer's got a lot of other restoration things they want to do. They didn't want to miss out on all the fun. They were just looking to get a lot of this electrical stuff knocked out. And something tells me they're probably happy they came to me because, man, there were tons of challenges, tons of problems, but we got through it and now we're going to give it back to the customer. So that'll do it for this time. See you next time. So I'll show a clip. I'll start all over. I'm like laying down on the ground. Whatever I can do to get the shot.